he wasn't frustrated just with that call. Let's call it like it is. That has been pent up frustration from this entire season up until this point. The Eagles are in a little bit of trouble. The way that the Giants are kind of rallying around this guy, they're sitting at 5-8. They could still make the playoffs. Now, will they make a run? Probably not. But hey, what's going on, everyone? You are listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Chauran. It's been a rough few days. Let's just get to it. Chiefs lose to the Buffalo Bills 20-17. And look, I'll open up by saying this. I am not as upset about this game like I was with the Packers game. I just felt like with that Packers game, Green Bay straight up outplayed us. That's what I took away from that game. With this game, we should have beat Buffalo. And it made me feel better with the fact that, hey, we lost because we got screwed by a call a little bit. But I'll be honest, it was the right call. It was a foul. But the frustrating part is that the inconsistency of that call so far, not even just in the season, now it is more of an emphasized penalty that the league definitely wants to harp on more this particular season. Good for them. It's been called 11 times so far this season up until that game. And I won't take credit for this stat because I actually heard it today on First Things First from Nick Wright. He said that only 3 of those 11 offensive offsides calls were called on wide receivers. The other 8 were called on offensive linemen from failed tush-push attempts. So 3 calls so far this season on wide receivers for offensive offsides. This game in particular against the Bills, Tony had actually been lining offsides for the entire game, let alone for that one play that they actually called. So that's my thing. If you're going to call it, but be consistent. Don't call it for that one play that changes the entire game. Don't let it slide basically the entire game up until the last minute, 15 seconds of that game, or minute 30, whatever it was. That's my frustration with it. So, was it the right call? Yes. But do I feel like we got screwed a little bit because it hadn't been called all game? And of course, that one play that gets us ahead and gives us the go-ahead touchdown pretty much, because I felt confident with our defense up until that point. We would have stopped Buffalo. I don't think Buffalo would have been able to get a touchdown. You call it. That's what I'm so upset about. And let's get to Pat real quick, because he's catching a lot of flack for something that I don't think he should be getting criticized for, in terms of he wasn't frustrated just with that call. Let's call it like it is. That has been pent up frustration from this entire season up until this point. He is mad at the 33 league leading 33 dropped passes so far. He is frustrated at the fact that we could easily be 11-2 or 12-1. No question. He's frustrated from the lack of development from receivers. He's frustrated with the penalties, with the false starts, offsides, dropped passes, fumbles, turnovers. Yeah, no shit, he's going to be mad. He's doing anything and everything he can to wield this team to win every single week. And when we are self-destructing the way that we have been through 14 weeks of this season, I don't blame him. That wasn't really at the referee. And he can say all he wants that it was. And he backtracked on it. He was like, hey, look, I shouldn't have reacted like that in his interaction with Josh Allen after the game. Still complaining about it. Pat's not a guy to do that. And anyone who's like, he's a crybaby, oh, the one time the call doesn't go his way, he freaks out. Those are people that just hate Mahomes because of his greatness. Because their team gets their ass whooped by Mahomes and the Chiefs. That's why. That's why they find any little edge they can when Mahomes is down to have a field day. And you know what? That's fine. They did the same thing with Brady. Shit. Look, I did the same thing with Brady. Anytime I saw him at his lowest point, and I don't mind admitting this because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, I was very happy because I'm like, finally, he's human, right? He's upset that a call didn't go his way, a play didn't go his way, and he's not winning. He's not like at his, best point. He's vulnerable. He's upset. Like that brought me joy because he brought my team so much misery for years. Now you're seeing the effect that Mahomes has. The exact same thing, the exact same effect that Tom Brady had on me and basically every other NFL fan for 20 plus years. That's what Mahomes is doing to guys now. That's how I encapsulated that. And anyone who is, you know, going to give the Chiefs crap, going to give Mahomes crap, Andy Reid crap. When has your team won a Super Bowl in the past 5-10 years? Has your team been to 5 straight AFC championship games and have won 2 Super Bowls in 3 attempts over the past 4 or 5 years? No. And more likely than not, your team's going to be bounced in the playoffs or may not even make the playoffs. So, cry me a river because I know what my team has. I know what we have with this team. As long as Mahomes is there, I'm chilling. I really am. And, you know, with how this season has gone so far, it makes me more appreciative of the success we've had because it's not easy. It's not easy winning 2 Super Bowls in 4 seasons at all. It's not easy having the dominance that we've had so far this season, not just in our division, but in our conference and for the entire league for that matter. So, yeah, I'm grateful for that. And this season is showing that, you know, things can go south pretty quick. Now, I'm saying all of this, and we're still at 8-5, the number 3 seed in the entire AFC. So the fact that I am complaining and saying that this is a down season when we're the 3 seed through 14 weeks, sitting at 8-5, I gotta put that in perspective, and I'm pretty happy about that. If this is like the lowest we can get right now, I'll take that. I really will, because I'll be honest. Based off of what I've seen, especially over this past weekend, from Miami, from Baltimore, from Jacksonville, even the Bills, I can't really pinpoint a team that I can definitively say we will lose to that team. I just can't. Now, on the NFC side, maybe. 49ers, Cowboys, they look great. But we're not talking about that. We're keeping this in conference. I feel good about that. Ravens are playing great. I would say the Ravens have the more convincing and compelling case that they're the best team in the AFC at this very moment. But if you were to ask me how I felt about going to Baltimore to play them in a, AFC championship game, I wouldn't feel like we wouldn't be able to win that game. I'd be a little nervous, yeah, because it'd be a hell of a game. They're no joke. They're the real deal. But the fact that they struggled the way that they did against the Rams, and it took them a miraculous punt return in overtime to win that game, you know, show me that there are some spots of weakness here and there. And Miami, don't even get me started with them. With 3 something left in the game, you're up 27-13, and you lose to the Titans, a team that I've been flaming the entire season, telling them to blow it up and rebuild. You lose to them in that fashion. And this kind of contributes to another conversation in terms of how valuable Tyreek Hill is to that Miami Dolphins team. Because let's be honest, right now, there is really, and up to this point, there has really no been leading contender in terms of in the quarterback position for NFL MVP. There's something to be said about every guy, good and bad. Brock Purdy. Oh, well, he has, 5 all NFL first team guys. Like, he has every weapon that you could want on an offense. Dak Prescott. Oh, well, the defense scores a lot of points, and so when the defense is hitting on all cylinders, it's easier for Dak. But if not, then he looks kind of mediocre, even though he's, in my opinion, in terms of quarterbacks, is leading the NFL MVP race right now. With Lamar, he's having a great season. Again, his knock is just that he doesn't throw the ball as much. He's not, a threat in the air as much as you'd like to see in terms of, your typical franchise quarterback like a Mahomes or a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence. But he can beat you, in my opinion, in the most ways possible out of any quarterback like him and Jalen Hurts. They have a very similar mold where they can, they can get you in the air, but you got to game plan for the run game that they bring to the table as well. And they're good clutch players, more Jalen in my opinion than Lamar, given the lack of playoff success that he's had so far in his career. But those are very similar molds with those two quarterbacks in comparison to a Mahomes or Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I mean, shoot, he can use his legs too, but he's more of a gunslinger. And just his physique, right? He's 6'5", 6'6", 240, and it's a freaking barrel running down the field. That's hard to tackle. Whereas in Lamar, he's more elusive. Like, don't go running full speed at him because you're just going to keep running by him because he's going to juke you and he's going to go for 6. So again, very different styles of quarterbacks you see, and there can be knocks for every guy. But what I'm getting to here is that this possibly could be the first season since Adrian Peterson won the NFL MVP where a non-quarterback position player wins. And Tyreek Hill has been leading that conversation. I mean, his stats so far this season are insane. He has 97 receptions, 1,542 yards, 12 touchdowns, and averages 16 yards per play. Pretty much. 15.9. I'll give him 16. Like, that's just crazy. I mean, he's definitely on pace to, hit that 2,000-yard mark. He did get dinged up in that game against Tennessee, so we'll see if he misses the next game. If so, then he probably won't hit that, which sucks because, I mean, he's been playing out of his freaking mind this season. And look, I've given him a lot of crap for leaving the Chiefs for the reasons that he did. But I'll be honest, man. There are points where I'm like, damn, if we still had Tyreek, we would be blowing everyone out. We really would. Now, we were able to win the Super Bowl last year. It wasn't easy. We were still able to do it. So I'm not making this a conversation that we still need Tyreek Hill, but, makes you appreciate him a little bit more in terms of he was just a beast. He really was for the Chiefs. And I mean, still is, obviously now with Miami. But, yeah, I mean, he's a dog. He really is, and Tua's lucky. And again, that's the knock on Tua for MVP conversation. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. You got guys like that. And so, yeah, in terms of the MVP conversation, I know I kind of went on a little tangent there, but I mean, Tyreek Hill makes a very compelling case. Anyways, back on this Chiefs team and in the game in general. Um, Down 14-0, come back, tied up, 17-14, 17-17. We have a chance to go down to score and win it. Doesn't happen. Lose ball game 2017. Again, defense I thought played great after a quarter and a half or so. I mean, we let Buffalo kind of go up and down those first few series. We're in a hole 14-0. But it gave me confidence from the perspective of, okay, maybe this team can come from behind, because I wasn't under that impression, didn't have that feeling up until that game that we were built like the Chiefs of old to come back from behind and win. And again, a Buffalo team, granted, missing a lot of guys on defense, but still, this is still a top defense in the NFL. They're only allowing 18.76 points per game through 13 games. I mean, that's crazy. That's top five, I think, in points allowed per game. Chiefs are number 3 on the defensive end of the ball. And again, this is still a great defense. I know we've kind of had a few off games, definitely against that Packers team. But this is a defense. Again, I would hate to waste a defense like this season because our offense can't get it together. That's my thing. So I feel like we can come back on teams, but again, in terms of the offensive production, we should have won that game despite the officiating towards the end. Again, it's like 5 something left in the game. Buffalo goes 3 and out. We get the ball back, and then we go 3 and out. Like, you can't have drives where your defense gives you the ball back, an opportunity to go down and take the lead, and then your offense can't answer. Like, that was so frustrating. So again, I know I opened up with the whole officiating thing, but the Chiefs had every opportunity to win that game, and we couldn't capitalize. We could not take advantage. And again, Pacheco didn't play. He was out with a shoulder injury. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was playing, and McKinnon, they kind of swapped back and forth, but Clyde was the main back. So I take that into perspective as well, in terms of we weren't fully healthy. We didn't have our normal left tackle in. And so, I take some bright spots away from this game, but again, offense, receivers, we need answers. We really do. And I'll end with this, and then I'll move on to some takeaways I have from week 14. I'm glad Pat lost his shit, because I don't know what happens behind closed doors in locker rooms. I don't know how he is, but I've gotten the vibe, whether if it's from Pat or Andy, that they're very lenient guys in terms of they don't like to rip guys a new one. They don't want to be assholes. Andy Reid doesn't seem to be like that. Pat doesn't seem to be like that. They seem to be like really nice, down to earth guys. But we saw a glimpse of Pat that I don't think any of us have ever seen before. And by us, I mean the general public. His teammates may have seen that side. But to see that, his frustration, his something snapping, I like that. I like it because I feel like it's going to light a little fire under everyone. It's going to add more accountability to guys that aren't performing the way that they should so far this season. And the way I saw Pat lose his shit, I hope that translated into the locker room, and away from the official and more towards the offense to get it together. Specifically, Kadarius Toney, Marquez, Justin Watson, guys like that, to freaking perform. Do your job. 33 drop passes so far this season on the offensive side of the ball, unacceptable. Turnovers left and right, fumbling balls, muffed punts. You can't have that. And with a guy like Mahomes, who's a generational talent, possibly the next GOAT of the NFL after Tom Brady, he expects excellence. And seeing how he reacted on that field, everyone's calling him a crybaby, this and that. Shut up. You're just mad because you don't have a quarterback like that on your team, and your team hasn't had the success that this Chiefs team has had over the past half decade. So again, I loved what I saw from that perspective. I didn't like the fact that it happened, but again, I think the flag, the offsides penalty, was the cover, but the real reason why he was so frustrated was all of the blunders up until this point in the season. I think that's what it was. And again, I don't blame him. You have guys dropping balls when you're throwing dimes, fumbling the ball, stopping drives where you're in the red zone or past the 50-yard line. Yeah. Yeah, he's human. And I feel like we saw that human side of him, and I liked it. To see Andy Reid get hot the way he did too, again, I feel like his frustrations may be a little bit different from Pat's because, again, I've criticized Andy a little bit this season in terms of the play calling with all the cute shit in the backfield and not just running the ball. He's adjusted and has gotten better with that, and I'm happy with that. But I feel like with Pat, it's just from the overall performance or lack thereof from his guys. And I'm sure Andy shares that same frustration, but with Pat, I just feel like it's a little different because he's on the field. That's what I take away from that. I hope it lights a fire under these guys because these last 4 games, we need to win out. Because of that Miami loss, there's still a sliver of hope that we could still possibly win the 1 seed. Now, look, Baltimore needs to drop some games. The Dolphins need to lose some games, but win against the Ravens. They play Baltimore week 17 in Baltimore. That'll be a very important game for us. So unfortunately, we don't control our own destiny completely. We can win out and see what happens. It's very possible Pat may have to play a playoff game on the road though, and we got to accept that. It is what it is. But yeah, so all that to say, it was a disappointing game, but as a Chiefs fan, I could take away some good things from the game. So, a lot happened in week 14. And I talked about a few of them already, so I won't really repeat them with the Miami game. But let's pivot over to the NFC. The Eagles are in a little bit of trouble. And I don't want to be that guy that reacts, right after a game because look, from week to week, emotions change, teams change. The entire landscape of the NFL changes 100%. It's a week by week basis. But it's one thing to lose against San Francisco the way that you did. The fact that you got beat very convincingly that following week against the Cowboys is concerning. It's one thing to lose a game where it's close, but to get blown out, to get out physical the way that you did is not good. I said Philly has a good defense when I was talking about the matchup prediction that I had between the Eagles and Cowboys. I picked them to win the game 28-27. Still a relatively higher game. But man, their defense, it's not good. It's not good. And that's one of the glaring issues that you're seeing with this team. They couldn't get anything going offensively. The final score was 33-13. Offense only could muster 6 points because the other score was on a scoop and score by Carter, the rookie. So you can only put up 6 points against this Cowboys team. A team in the Cowboys that has been criticized for not being able to perform against good teams. But these past few weeks against Seattle and against Seattle's, you know, they're good, but they're not great. And they may not even make the playoffs, but that's neither here nor there. They still had a winning record at the time. Or 500, I forget. But they weren't sucky like the teams that Cowboys had been beating up for weeks. And then the Eagles coming in at 10-2, now 10-3. Right now, 49ers holding the 1 seed. Then I believe it's the Cowboys, Detroit. They're reeling. They are reeling now at 9-4. Yeah, they need to get it together because it's not looking good in Detroit right now. Again, 4 more games, you can turn it around, but oh boy. Another game too that benefited the Chiefs here is the Jaguars lose to the Browns 31-27. Joe Flacco turning back the clock a little bit. He was just sitting on his couch a few weeks ago, and obviously losing Deshaun Watson earlier in the season, DTR losing him. You got to get another guy. Joe Flacco comes out and he balls out, and obviously Trevor Lawrence was playing injured, but again, he's out on the field. You got to see what he can do. Browns, again, a great defense. Got 27 still put on him, but definitely one of the better defenses in the NFL. Jaguars lose another game. Before that, they lost to the Bengals 34-31 and Jake Browning. So, yeah, it's very tight right now. If you look at the playoff picture right now with the AFC, there are 6 teams sitting at 7-6, ranging from the Steelers in the 5 seed all the way down to the Bills in the 11 seed. Like, the margin of error for these next 4 games, paper thin, slim to none. Again, the Chiefs and the Jaguars only 1 game better, sitting at 8-5. So they don't have a lot of breathing room. So this weekend definitely benefited the Ravens because they win in a nail biter in overtime against the Rams. Dolphins lose, Chiefs lose, Jaguars lose. If you win against Miami, you pretty much probably wrap up the conference in the 1 seed. So it's so tight, man. It is. The freaking Broncos are only 1 game behind us after starting 1-5. 6 freaking games later, 7 games later, they're sitting at 7-6. It's crazy. This season has been insane. Yeah. So again, margin for error super thin for the Chiefs. Not just the Chiefs, but that's the only team I care about. But all the teams, and yeah, it's insane. So let's get into some predictions here. I have about 3 or 4 games that I definitely think you guys should check out, just given the magnitude of both teams at this point in the season and the importance of what a win can be and what a loss can be. So obviously, I'll start with the Chiefs here. We need a win out. So every game is a must win in my opinion for us. Patriots have nothing to lose. They're out of the playoff picture, and yeah, they're going to want to beat us obviously, but we definitely have more to lose with this game. I think it again with the lack of performance I've seen on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think this will be very high scoring. The Patriots have a great defense. And yeah, I don't think this will be a very high scoring game, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs here to win this 21-14. This next game I have is Jets at Dolphins. Look, I know Zach Wilson as a whole so far this season has had a horrible season, but he balled out last game against Houston. Granted, CJ Stroud got knocked out of that game. He doesn't play defense though, and Houston has a good defense, but I that definitely did change the tide a little bit. Um, but he balled out, and Miami with their defense, I mean, they allowed 15 points in 3 minutes and something seconds against Tennessee, who at that point in the game or in the season was 4-8. So their defense is looking suspect, especially with Phillips out for the rest of the season too. That was definitely a huge loss for them. And Xavier Howard, he got torn up that game. And yeah, so you got to look at all of those components from the defensive side of the ball. Tyreek Hill, we'll see if he plays. I know he was hobbled during that game. He was in and out, but not 100%. So this is, in my opinion, I think the Jets, I think they missed the playoffs, but they want to win this game. And I think Miami, they have shown that they are vulnerable in a lot of spots. Now, look, I never took them as seriously as the Chiefs, as the Ravens, maybe even the Jaguars in the AFC. Shoot, I may even take the Bills over them, but they're very good offensively. That's really all you can say, though. And so, obviously, I know over the past 3-4 weeks, they've been able to shore up a little bit. Vic Fangio's defense, but when you have a game like that, man, I mean, it leaves some cause for pause. So I'm going to pick Miami to win this game here. It's a must-win for them, though. If they really want to get that number one seed and stay in contention for that, they need this game. It'll be a tight one, though. I don't think it'll be very high scoring. Again, not as low scoring as the Chiefs and Pats game that I picked for them. I think the Miami Dolphins will win this game, but I don't feel great about it. I do hope Achan has a great game though, because I have him in fantasy. So, dude, ball out. I don't care if you guys win or lose. Just give me some points. But yeah, I'll pick Miami to win this game here, 23-20. Next up, I have Cowboys at Buffalo. 500 record on the road for the Cowboys this season. They have been stupid good at home. So you're not in your comfort zone anymore. You're not in Dallas. You're not indoors anymore. And I don't know how the weather's going to be in Buffalo, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be as nice as it is in that indoor stadium in Dallas. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Cowboys adjust from that perspective. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys here. Again, Buffalo should have lost that game. We should have beat them. And I think the Cowboys are neck and neck with the 49ers right now. I'll pick the 49ers over the Cowboys, but I think they've been able to leap Philly in terms of kind of the power rankings on the NFC side of the league right now, and they're looking great. I'm going to pick the Cowboys here to win this game 28-23. Obviously, Buffalo needs this game. They'll be desperate, but I just think Cowboys have the better team. And lastly, here we have the Ravens in Jacksonville. This is going to be a great game. Again, Jags have kind of been reeling a little bit for these past few weeks on a 2-game losing streak. Trevor Lawrence isn't 100%. But hey, Baltimore, they looked a little shaky against the Rams. And the Rams, I mean, I'm not saying they're scrubs, but they're not title contenders by any means. So again, I get it. A win is a win, but it wasn't very convincing. And against a Jaguars team that feels like, they can go far this season, they're going to want to win this game 100%. It's in Jacksonville. The Ravens are coming off of a game like that. Very high emotion. It's natural. And I know every critic says this in sports media. Coming off of a very high emotional game like that, it's just natural that there's going to be some lows there. Sorry, I have my mic. It's natural there's going to be some lows there. And so does that come into play? I don't know. I think it'll be a good game. Baltimore, if they want to really secure that 1 seed, they got to win this game. And I'll pick Baltimore to win this game. I think they are the better team. I think it'll be a great game, though. You definitely want to check it out. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this game here, 27-21. Also, really quickly before I finish up here, shout out to Tommy DeVito. I know it was maybe like around a month ago where I said he played like Danny DeVito. He didn't play great. But hey man, I gotta give him some props here. He's they won 3 straight. Giants have, and he played a great game against the Packers. No turnovers. He played very efficiently. I think the Giants may have found a new guy. Now look, I say that kind of cheeky, right? Like I'm not 100% serious with that, but the way that the Giants are kind of rallying around this guy, they're sitting at 5-8. They could still make the playoffs. Now, will they make a run? Probably not. But hey, it's just incredible what he's been able to do. I think he's played 6 games for them so far. He's like 4-6. They beat the Commanders, then they lost 2 games, and then they've won 3 straight, something like that. So, shout out to DeVito. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Thank you all for listening. And man, come on, Chiefs. We need a. Damn it, these guys are stressing me the hell out, man. Anyways, sorry, I'm just going through it right now. Okay, cut me some slack. I'm optimistic, but damn it, it's hard. But anyways, thank you all for listening, and I will be back next week. Peace.